The first thing you have to know is this. There are two types of databases: relational and non-relational. In other words, those with relations where a key equals value and those without such relations. A relational database is a set of tables. Treat them as Excel tables where we have rows and columns. Those keys which we send in parameters of the URL, they become the columns. And here we have names: Alex, Boris, Chris, etc. So somebody fills in the form, the HTML form. It is submitted to the server and stored here. Important to mention, the relations remain if I made no mistakes and at every stage gave the same names to my variables. For example, in the form the first name is called name, the last name, and the phone is called phone. Then I should remain consistent, and in the database I will use the same spelling for the column names. This is the correct approach. It helps avoid mess. I already mentioned it makes sense to use normal meaningful nouns, so the chances for mistakes would be lower, and consistency will help me find my way through the code. Such a database is called relational because we have these relations and thus we can make a search by the field names, column names, which we created, by phone number or name, for example. One of the most popular programming languages, or more precisely, it's rather querying than programming, is called SQL, or sometimes it's pronounced as SQL, Simple Query Language. For instance, a query looks like this. Select all values from name of the table where name equals Jacob. A query is formulated in a language which pretty much looks like normal human English. At least that was declared as one of the goals when this language was designed. We have a few variations of SQL. MySQL, it belongs to Oracle. MS SQL, which belongs to Microsoft, etc. We have certain differences in the syntax, but basically the principles are the same. SQL is the language for addressing the database. Sometimes we need to store something absolutely different, when we do not actually need pairs of key values, but rather chunks of data. And these chunks are huge. In such cases, non-relational databases help. Or in other words, big data. Here we find absolutely different principles and approaches. What can we have in big data, for example? Video files. Inside a single video file, there is nothing for us to search for. We want to upload it somewhere and get some sort of ID for it. In YouTube, you see examples. When you watch a video, you see its ID in the form of a sequence of letters and numbers. youtube.com/ and there it goes. This sequence of letters and numbers is the ID of this very video clip. You address this clip by this ID. Of course, this ID is unique. In relational databases, cuts are normal, which means I can cut the table according to some criteria and extract the needed records. I can search by certain parameters. I can search dynamically, changing these criteria on the fly. I want to see all students who registered from date A to date B. In non-relational databases, we do not ask such questions. We want to get our video clip as soon as possible. Thus, we have to know its address, its unique ID. And deeply inside, cool technologies are used to enable quick access. It's a separate interesting theme. In reality, these two types of databases work together. In reality, our video clip has a block of data associated with it. It includes the keywords, description, name of the author. When we search, for example, for gifts for boys, keywords are gifts and boys. According to these keywords, the search engine finds the records in the relational database. These records hold the IDs of the video clips, which are kept in a separate non-relational data storage. Then we know the correct ID of the video clip and can directly access it.
HTML, JavaScript, PHP и SQL.
The union of HTML, JavaScript, PHP, and SQL gives us what we call full stack developer. It means more job opportunities. This full stack of competencies actually allows us to create pretty much everything. From a demonstrable prototype of some idea to a full-scale product. All these creatures live in the environment called LAMP. What about CSS? 1 second. LAMP means Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP. This platform or configuration allows us to create a minimal viable product. You can either demo your MVP and get to the next level, or you can grow and scale it up. This platform suffices for an online shop and for an online bank. Whatever you can imagine. With these technologies, you can create a country in the smartphone. This is the minimalistic set of tools you need. I recommend you to start self-learning JavaScript. Why JavaScript? Because for your first steps in programming, you need only a basic PC with a simple text editor, like Notepad. You do not even need internet connection. You do not bother with a local environment. Simply speaking, you just save the file and open it in the browser. Create a page with HTML and JavaScript. Save it as a text file with HTML extension, then click it and it will open in the browser so you can see and play with it. Your start is here. CSS cascading style sheets. As HTML, it is not an independent language. It is a set of tags. Do not know what other words can be used to name them. For the markup of the page and definition of its look and feel. Treating CSS as an independent language is an exaggeration. Probably for the sake of commercializing of teaching, probably. In fact, it would be learned together with HTML. Is it what we see in messengers? No. When in HTML, in the code of our web page, we create an element, div inside this element.
І в цьому елементі
These things are called tags. Inside between them we have the inner content. What is a div? It's a block, a box. In the web page, it can have different looks or styles. It can have different sizes, different background colors or images. It can appear immediately or be shown with some animation. It can be positioned here or there. All these styles can be written either in this div here directly, which is neither efficient nor convenient, because if I have 10 exactly identical divs, I do not want to repeat the same code 10 times. It does not make sense. The proper way to do it is to put these style definitions in a separate file, CSS file, and then include or attach this external CSS file to our web page HTML file. Our div gets a class name. This class name is defined in the external CSS file.
наприклад, div
Class equals main div.
main div
In the CSS file we have main div with all its properties,
diva
including the border, for example, 1 pixel wide,
товщиною
green color, solid,
зеленого кольору,
left margin 10 pixels, and so on.
лівого краю margin left буде там 10 пікселів.
I would not call it an independent language, sorry.
Це так, це занадто.
It is like instructions for coloring books. Yes.
Ще які питання? Я нагадую,
I'm reminding you my recommendation to start learning from JavaScript. Find a book or an online tutorial, start reading. If you have been reading it for 10 minutes and it does not make any sense, try a different book. This one is not exactly for you.
в іншому стилі, щоб воно
In a different style, more appropriate for you personally.
коли ми читаємо
While reading, if you see an example of code, a code snippet, you have to try it even if it is very short and simple. Try typing it in the text editor, save it, launch it in the browser, and examine what is happening. You need to acquire this coding experience. You have to develop coding skills, even if it seems very simple. Nevertheless, type it and try it. Start with HTML and JavaScript, the simplest examples. Start it, try it, ask questions. Next time, next Saturday, you're welcome. We shall discuss something interesting. Thank you. Subscribe to my channel, please, to stay updated.